My name is Naola Wilms, and this is my final story robe project. So this was my first symbol, and basically the symbol just kind of represents me connecting to the land around me. I came from a very different landscape in BC, and when I moved to Revelstoke at the beginning of the term, I felt very disconnected with the land, which is something very abnormal for me. So, yeah, I just went out and I took time, intentional time, and tried to connect with the land. So, yeah, the blue and the green circles represent the land, and the rectangles in the colors of the medicine wheel represent myself. This was my second symbol, and it symbolizes the connection that the indigenous peoples had with the land and how they were able to have a symbiotic relationship with the land, and also how they made fair trade agreements with the settlers as they came, and just that they were able to be fair with everyone that they were giving, even if those weren't giving the same back. This symbol definitely shows my growth in my own view of what Indigenous health means, and also what that means for myself. I am a Métis girl, and I find that a lot of the time when I look in the mirror, I don't feel like that, and I feel very disconnected to my culture because of the way I grew up. I just didn't know really anything other than that's what I was. I didn't know any part of my culture. And so that definitely left this kind of hole, I suppose, in what would have felt right, I think. And yeah, I feel that Indigenous health means that holistic view with a W. Just that a part of your culture, whether or not you know it's there, can make up such a big part of a person. And I feel like it does make up such a big part of me, even though it's not there, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that's definitely something that's changed for me. I didn't think of Indigenous health as that so much before, whereas I think that's definitely something that has changed throughout the duration of this course, which is great. This is my fourth symbol, and this one definitely was just one of those foundational lessons that we had on the missing and murdered Indigenous girls, women, and Two-Spirit peoples. And yeah, this is a very impactful lecture for me, and just definitely a very awakening realization that I grew up being scared of the boogeyman, and there are many Indigenous people that grew up being scared that they would be kidnapped because of the color of their skin. This symbol also connects back into my understanding of Indigenous health and how that's evolved over the term. I would say I had a very minimal understanding of what Indigenous health really meant, even though I am Indigenous myself, and our lecture with our guest speaker coming in definitely had a big impact on that when we were talking about the OCAP Foundation and all of their four main points that they have of ownership, control, access, and possession. And yeah, so this was definitely super interesting and foundational for the for my new knowledge and understanding of Indigenous health. This is my sixth symbol, and this was done after watching the Jordan River Anderson. This symbol represents how all children, regardless of their heritage and or disabilities, how they deserve compassionate and immediate access to the resources they need, no matter what background they come from or what their standings in society might be. And this was after we watched the video lecture on the Jordan Rivers Anderson situation. This was definitely a foundational symbol for me, or very solidifying in my own identity, I suppose, of just knowing that I am AT, but also white presenting and being proud of that, of both aspects of that I can't change who I am, and that I am still perfectly who I'm made to be. And also just like making sure that, well, just the feeling that I am safe in the healthcare system, whether or not my nurse or doctor knows that I'm AT. And I feel like that's a super important part about anti-Indigenous racism in healthcare in general, is that we need to, get rid of those stigmas and those generalizations that do come with Indigenous peoples, and just look at every new patient with new eyes, and looking at them for what they need and not what might have happened. Looking at what might have happened to get them there, but not judging for whatever that is, whether that's a past in alcohol abuse or substance usage, but looking at that and going, okay, what's our next step forward, no matter what demographic that person is. And I think that's one of the biggest ways we're going to need to move forward in healthcare. This was my 8th and final symbol. And this one is definitely more of a reflection upon the class, as well as applying what we had learned that week to our symbol. I was just reflecting on how good I felt after offering tobacco during one of our classes, and how even just like small parts of cultures being reintroduced can be such a big part of healing of intergenerational trauma going forward. And that just got me started thinking about what we had reflected on in our more recent classes with trauma-informed care, and just that we really don't know what has happened to each patient that we get going through the door, and how one of the best ways to articulate or to encourage cultural safety and to make sure that everyone feels safe in the healthcare system is to just have that open mindset of, okay, we don't know what's happened to them, not what they have done, if that makes sense. That every choice that they make is the result of someone else's choice as well, that has influenced them in some way. And recognizing that and knowing that every person is still a person no matter what situation they're in. So that was just kind of what the symbol was for me. Super reflective. And here is my final story robe with all of my symbols together. I hope to continue to make these symbols, as I definitely felt that it was a nice way to wrap up what I learned that week or that chunk of time, and definitely a good way to reflect on what I learned in that time period. And here was the final story robe. It was definitely super awesome to be able to do these reflections, and just to even be able to just have that wrap up of every week or chunk of time with that symbol was really nice to keep me thinking about what we have learned, not just leaving it behind in the lecture. And definitely this course has definitely helped me to have a different understanding of Indigenous health. Not that I didn't have one at all before, but just that I feel much more well-rounded, and definitely I feel as if I were a fully capable nurse, of course, I feel like I would be able to give the proper care for Indigenous patients much, much more confidently than I would have before taking this class, which I feel like is ultimately the end goal. And yeah, I feel like I would know, even with some of our acting games that we did, I feel like I would be much more comfortable disrupting anti-Indigenous racism, and yeah, just standing up for those who need to be stood up for, which is a lot of the time those Indigenous people who, just don't get that care that they need, and that affirmation that they are still loved and cared for. Yeah, thank you for listening.